Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Goodcast Show. So today on this Friday night, we're going to take it chill and talk about gratitude. That's right, have a good time and understand how that can improve our lives. So today's guest is a gratitude advocate, but before that, she was in IT and then moved in and sales and then moved into the training industry where she certainly made her mark as a speaker, a certified coach. She was the past president of Malaysian Association of Professional Speakers. She's among the 21 Inspiring Indians icon on LinkedIn 2019. She's also a Perdana Awards 2019 Special Achievement recipient. She has spoke at the World Gratitude Summit and she's a certified virtual presenter. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Madam Bavani. How are you?
Hi, I'm good.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. And by the way, I just want to highlight one thing. She also has this amazing reflecting gratitude journal that you can purchase. We'll be sharing her email if you guys want to buy it from her. It's very, very nice, honestly. It's a matte cover. It has amazing journaling questions on gratitude. And I can't wait to try some of these questions. But before we get to this book, let's get to know you. So Bavani, you started in IT and sales.
Yes.
What made you make the shift to training?
Ever heard of accidental things that happens in your life?
Yeah, a lot of the guests that come on, apparently it seems to everything's accidental.
Yeah, so I started in IT sales. Then I got tired of IT sales. And accidentally, the available job at that time was sales in training industry.
Okay.
So, and I had pretty darn good bosses who refused to let me stay where I was. And they said, you got to move up. And when they say up was very high up.
Okay.
So that's how I ended up here.
Okay. And so how has life changed for you, moving from IT and sales into training? You in your profile, you say that it's something that you were actually always passionate about?
I still love IT.
Okay.
But I think circumstances, situations, I've got no regrets. Because while I loved the IT industry, I didn't have very good working experiences in terms of the company I worked with, the situations I was in. So when I shifted to training, I had very good working relationship with my bosses.
Okay.
Believe it or not, I hated long holidays. I missed work.
I share that with you. I can't do long holidays. I can't.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 days, 3 days max. After that, I go, I need to get back.
Correct. Because pretty much I have experienced toxic working environment and very empowering working environment. So I call it my hell and heaven. So having experienced two different extremes, it really puts a lot of perspectives in life. So if you ask me what has changed, I think the word gratitude was what changed my life, my working experience, and getting me to where I am actually today.
Nice. So you talk a lot about gratitude.
Yep.
Why are you a gratitude advocate? Why is that such an important thing to have that would lead you to become an advocate for it?
Because I took the word thank you for granted. I didn't realize how powerful it was until it was being used on me. Because I was working in a work environment where all my colleagues, my leaders, my bosses, they were very appreciative. And then when you say things like, oh no lah, I was only doing this much. You guys are the heroes who went and trained. And they'll turn around and say that we couldn't have trained if you didn't do the work in the office. And that's like a hit to me because I've always been blamed. And here, for doing the tiniest thing, someone says thank you to you. And I was waiting for the other shoe to drop, but it never dropped.
Okay.
But then I realized when that happened, and everyone is actually happy, enjoying work. I will not tell you it was a bit of roses. We still had timelines. We still had firefighting. We still had last minute work. We used to work a lot of long hours and all of that. But we didn't have anything to complain about. Because whatever that we did, it was appreciated. Every late nights, every weekend that we came in, it was appreciated. And it wasn't about the money. It's just knowing the fact that what we do meant something to the company.
Yeah.
And it's that sense of being heard as well, because they are open to feedbacks and they're like, thank you for sharing that. We didn't realize that. Keep giving us feedback, keep sharing that. We appreciate what you are doing. And it's like, oh, my bosses are literally listening to me. I've never had that.
It
So-
actually reminds me of a line from the book Alchemist. There is one line where it says, "Be mindful of what you're saying because life is listening."
Yeah.
And I've always, after reading that line, I always practice that because whatever you get, if you're not grateful for it, or even if you don't outwardly show your gratitude, but you condemn it, after a while, it
Yeah.
tends to disappear from your life.
And I think if I can just share this, I wasn't I won't say I was a very depressed person, but then I always look at all the things that went wrong in the work that I did. Like, oh crap, I did a mistake. Oh crap, this went wrong. And in this company, it was like, yeah, we know you made a mistake. It's okay. What did you learn from this? How can you do better? And I'm like, I'm so obsessed and I was so focused on the mistake. I couldn't see beyond that. And it's looking like, how could you do better? If you were to do this again, what would you do differently? And those questions are like, I just made a mistake. Why aren't they scolding me?
Mm.
But it's more of looking at what's working well. And on a normal day when my bosses used to ask me, how was your week? I used to list all the things that went wrong. And they're like, okay, put that aside. What went right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
And
I
also,
had
I
a
think
difficulty shifting my paradigm to look at things that way because
Yeah,
I was so used to this.
yeah.
I didn't have the most empowering working experience. So this was a challenge for me to start looking at things that was working. But it was over time. And
No, it's right because I think also people don't when you are more positive about what happens in your life and you're more grateful or you recognize it, people tend to gravitate towards you because nobody wants to talk to a wet blanket,
yes.
especially too much. You know, they
Yes.
keep bringing up, oh, this was bad and this was bad. Like, oh God, come on, man, it's so tiring talking to you.
And
Yeah,
it was so difficult for me to move and shift my perspective.
Mm.
And when I did eventually move, it was nice. You know,
Nice.
that feeling of like, you do a mistake, but you don't feel scared.
Mm.
You know you made a mistake, but you're learning from this. You don't go into that, oh God, I don't know what's going to happen.
Mm.
But so then I realized, why aren't more people saying this? Why aren't because in the past I always had my friends saying that, you know, life sucks, work sucks. So I thought it was normal. Then I'm realizing I happened to taste heaven, but a lot of my friends didn't.
Okay. So are you? I mean, in the people that you have met, speaking at gratitude events and all that themed events, are you noticing that people are less grateful nowadays for things in their life and they focus more on what they don't have as opposed to what they do?
Sometimes, but I guess it's also because they just don't remember. I won't say they're not grateful. They're just not remembering to be grateful. I rather position it that way than you're saying that someone. And sometimes maybe because times have changed, things have changed. Like how our parents live life, our grandparents live life, how we live life, and the next generation. What we have may not be what things that previous generation had. So we wouldn't know what was it like. I mean, my grandparents were rubber tappers. To say that I'm blessed to be working in an air-conditioned room, I take it for granted because I wouldn't know what was it like to be a rubber tapper back then.
Yeah.
So to say that I'm ungrateful, not entirely correct. But to be grateful, I have a job that I like. That's where I should be grateful for.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that we should be grateful for the things that are happening with us. I mean, in our lives on a daily basis. I've noticed this, especially in some people I know. Whenever they taste food, I don't know why. I think I've noticed it a lot among Indians. Our people tend to do this. Whenever we get food, first thing we do is we criticize the taste. And then we wonder why we have indigestion or some problems. I say, yeah, because you made fun of that food before it went in. Like, stuff like that. I always think you should be grateful for things you have.
Yeah.
So you talked about how, being grateful, especially in the terms of entrepreneurship. And I talk a lot about entrepreneurship on this podcast as well. And you have had experience coaching micro enterprises on gratitude and how that can assist them. So in a nutshell, how does gratitude come into play when it comes to improving one's business? Or helping an entrepreneur start his journey?
I would say first take stock at what you have and start counting your blessings. And I think for an entrepreneur who's starting up, it may be the case where things may not be going as what you planned or how you envision it, but to keep going, to have faith. And one way to be able to do that is to look back and count blessings. And it's also about, you know how people get about, oh, I didn't have enough income, but I've got bills to pay. Rather than grumble about the bills, just be thankful that I managed to scrape through. I managed to find some cash to just pay this. I learned this powerful lesson from an auntie in Penang many, many years ago. So this auntie used to sell newspapers, and so she used to get these 1 ringgit notes. And she used to tie them up in hundreds because she has to go and bank them in. So I'll help her to count, and I'll just, randomly tie them up and give it to her, and she will get angry with me because I've not stacked it up and arranged it properly. And I made the mistake of telling her, it's just a ringgit. And she said, yeah, that's why you people never realize the value of money. If you can't respect 1 ringgit, how do you expect 100 ringgit to respect you?
Interesting.
That hit me at that time. And ever since then, I learned to respect money. And coincidentally, I think somewhere around of the time COVID hit, I happened to come across this guy, Ken Honda. He speaks about arigato money. And he speaks the same, that, money has energy. You need to be thankful, not complain. When you pay for something, be thankful that you actually are able to buy something in exchange. And that reminded me of what the auntie said. That auntie who was not educated, she sells newspaper, and she taught me that powerful lesson about respecting 1 ringgit so that the 100 ringgit will actually respect you.
That's very powerful. I completely agree with that. Do you think that nowadays, I think one of the problems with today's society is, of course, the invention of social media, right? Of course, it's a great thing. I think recently social media has gone quite viral now, considering the recent ban TikTok has faced in the US, right? But we live in a world whereby we measure our value based on somebody else's. That is the benchmark we use. And not knowing that what you're seeing on the screen may not necessarily be 100% true. It's just snippets of their life, right? So how does someone, especially a young person now, just say a Gen Z and all that, how do they go back to taking it easy, taking it slow, and understanding that life is to be lived? It takes time. Everything takes time. And actually, when you look at what you have in your own backyard, you have quite a lot.
Yeah, and I think the one thing to remember that is that perception is a very powerful camouflage. What you see may not be what it seems. And then to ask yourself, what we ourselves are posting. Are we posting everything? We post what we feel is nice, likable. And I think it's always going back to our own self-worthiness before comparing. Because if we know, when we know our self-worthiness, we know it's enough for us. And that's where I say it's not to forget to be grateful for our own self, what we have achieved, what we have. Because then you have a sense of, I'm actually worth this much. I have this. Look at what you've learned, what skills you have. A lot of things that we forget to be grateful for because those are things that other people are struggling without. The ability to speak a certain language, the ability to maybe even count. But some people can't. So it's about taking stock and maybe doing a self-inventory and looking at that list and just going, oh wow, actually I have got a lot. And when you really track back what you actually know, what you have done, the little things that you have done, you'll be amazed to see actually how wow you are.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely.
And if I were to ask someone, when did you last do a self-inventory? I'm not talking about, the handphone you have and all of that, but you personally, the skills that you have learned, what you're able to do, whether it's a leadership skill, some financial skills that you have, the EQ that you have, all of that. If you start putting marks to it, you'll be amazed at who you are actually.
In fact, that happened to me, I think, a few weeks ago. I for some reason, because I was preparing a profile, or I was setting up a website for my company, and I had to go through some of the old pictures and things. And I was like, wait a minute, Seems like I've done quite a bit.
Yes.
But that never came to mind as you are moving forward.
Correct.
Right?
It gets lost in work, busyness, family, obligations.
From what you are saying, you sound like your message is to take stock of life, take it easy, take it slow, take it one step at a time. But when we look at modern day self-help, the industry that you are sort of in, because you're talking about gratitude is also part of that. A lot of these self-help gurus tend to berate people for being too slow, or they should be moving fast. They should be working 24 hours a day. They should be waking up at 4 in the morning, and if they are not doing this, then they are going to fail in life, or they are a failure. If they are overweight, it's the end of the world. If stuff like that. What do you say to the current self-help world, which sometimes when you have all these alpha males and this, spewing all this, when I look at it, I worry because this is not right. What do you say to people like this?
In the first place, if I were to follow all of that, I'll be in a big mess right now.
Yeah, definitely.
But, saying that, I have gone through those phases, but it's just to accept that in certain cases, yes, we need to. I'm not saying that if you do gratitude, you just sit at home and shake your legs. You still need to pay the bills. You still need to do work.
Yeah.
But it's about figuring out what works for you. Because what may work for someone may not work for the other person.
Exactly.
It may be working for someone to wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning. I do my best work late at night. For some reason, that's the time all my juices work. I get my best work done mostly late at night.
Yeah.
But I try to be mindful that I also need my adequate sleep hours. So I would say this, figure out what works for you. And different people, different role models, different gurus, they all have different messages because something worked for them. And they are sharing that. And if you see, not all of them have the same message. So it's to look through all of this, trying it out and see what works. I've tried the 5 a.m. I wish it works. I am an early bird. But 5 a.m. doesn't work for me. I can't function at 5 a.m. But I function very well at 10 p.m. onwards. So I just got to accept the fact that that's how I am built or structured and work with that. But to be mindful that I also need my adequate sleep.
So it's each to his own. The different strokes for different people.
That's what I would say. Because forcing someone to do something that's uncomfortable, I won't say no, because also it depends on situations. And I mean, if you're in a business, you can't afford to be so at leisure and wait to figure out, then you really got to hustle. So this is depending on situations. At times, yes, you really got to hustle. You just got to work nonstop, figure out what works, and you just got to go and make the money. But at times, it's about just taking a step back, reviewing whether those are working, and if it's not, do I need to change them? Do I need to do something extra? Do I need to stop doing some things? That would be the stock pick that I say.
Since we are talking about 5 a.m., the person who made this famous is actually quite is a trending topic now. Jay Shetty. He's been called out for false facts and about his past and all that, and people are starting to cancel him and all that stuff. What do you think about it?
I have nothing against Jay Shetty because I actually enjoy some of his talks. It's just about, again, listening to him. If something works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So along along my journey, I've also had a tough lesson to learn, which is something that Gandhi said last time. Hate the sin, love the person. You got to take the actions away from the person and look at what would you respect from this or learn from this, because there could be messages that are powerful.
Yeah.
And to not look at the person who's saying it, but rather the message and what the message means.
Correct.
Because there are leaders around that sometimes I don't like them. But some of the things that they say are powerful.
Exactly.
They get things done. And I got to respect and say that works. I may not like the person, but there are certain things that they do that does work. And I got to respect that. So for me, if you ask me, I would just say he may have had a past. I can't change that, neither can he. But if there's something that he says that could work, why not try it?
Yeah, it's
Why lose something just because I didn't like
I think
him?
the another saying that I think is what you said about what Gandhi said is throw the bathwater but keep the baby. Right.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
something that I've hung on to. I mean, even there are many cases where as I have very strong opinions when it comes to Hindu gurus and Swamijis. I have very strong opinions on that. But when after hearing that statement, I listen to them. I don't need to serve them or whatever, but whatever good that they say that makes sense for me,
Yes.
I take it in and I
Yeah.
learn from it. It's nothing, and that applies to everyone, right?
Correct.
So
I mean, what
sorry.
you and I say, there could be people who don't like it as well.
Exactly. I'm sure there are. From my comments, there are a lot of people who don't like some things that I've said. So in your opinion, I've always questioned the self-help genre. I've always been skeptical of it because I think sometimes the advice given seems very repetitive. Because I went through a self-help phase, especially when I was in university. So I used to read a lot of stuff. And I was at one point I realized, I said, wait a minute, most of the books seem to be saying the same thing.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you think self-help helps? Or do you think it's more of the case of sometimes you just got to take life by the collar and deal with the issues as opposed to going to self-help?
I think that's something that I can't answer because different people are at different situations. And I just want to share something, my humble learning. So I was all gung-ho and going on this rampage about, people should say thank you. You should appreciate life. I was taking it very seriously until COVID hit. And I don't know how many people who was very close to giving me tight slaps. Because I was telling them, you got to be grateful with what you have. And these are people who have just probably lost job. They don't know how could they be feeding their kids in the next few weeks. And telling them to be grateful may not have been my wisest choice of words at that time.
Yes.
But in all
you must have
honesty,
lost a lot of friends, I think.
I don't know.
Hey, Bavani, I'm having a tough time. Listen, you got to be grateful.
Yeah.
I have no money to put food on the table.
I
Be
have-
grateful for the table.
I've actually said, it's COVID. There are people struggling to breathe and they are on breathing machines right now. I made these fatal mistakes.
It was.
But then I also realized, because I have also been a coach, and somehow accidentally I realized rather than telling people, I started asking people questions. And this was just an accidental thing that I discovered. And it was saying something like, hey Vinod, tell me one thing that, when you look at it, it makes you happy. And then people, most often they will say it's my son or my baby girl. I say, tell me more about your baby girl. And the whole physiology, their body gets excited. The tone of voice changes. And I'm like, hey, okay,
That makes sense.
they just moved past, feeling depressed and not knowing. And then I built upon it. So what else makes you happy? What do you enjoy doing? And then knowing that they are moving past slowly, not entirely, moving past slowly that phase of helplessness. I don't know where to find money to put food on the table. I can't go to work. It's lockdown everywhere. And then they are like, I like doing this. I like doing that. I say, knowing that you can't do anything right now, what's the one thing you can do? Then they'll start thinking like, nowadays people are stuck at home. Maybe I can start selling food from home. I'm like, yeah, so what
you can
else?
try
What
something.
else?
Yeah.
So then I realized, rather than stuffing gratitude down people's throat, asking questions seemed to help. Than me trying to say, hey, be grateful. You're still living there. People dying there. Switching my way of doing things, that helped for me. So that was my very humble learning, moving past
That's
telling
very
and motivating.
No, but that's very refreshing listening you say this, because I recently, I've always stayed away from having friends who are either trainers or coaches or counselors because of this.
Oops.
Because you'll be having you'll be just having a night, evening with people. Then the last thing you want to do is get advised on life. So recently, I had this guest on. I'm not going to mention the name, and this guest is a coach.
Okay.
Coach, right? So what happened after the conversation? Then we started talking and we said, look, maybe we can do some collaboration together and all that, because like for me, I'm trying to do more live events as well this year. So I was looking for people to work with. So we met, and the entire meeting felt like I was in the psychologist room. Like
gosh.
they were like, hey, so like I have this thing where I like to have fun. I like to make jokes and be, just lighten things and all that. I don't like to take it too seriously. I don't take myself too seriously. So this guy, when I made a joke, sort of like I think I made it about my marriage. I just said, but then it's also not easy to be married to me. Oh, why are you putting yourself down? You shouldn't think like this. And I was like, oh my God, it was just a joke, man.
Yeah, I've learned that while I'm a professional speaker, I'm also a coach. So sometimes people ask me, how from speaking you learn how to shut up and just ask questions? So I've got no answer, but I've learned along the way.
Awesome, we can be friends now.
Yeah, but I think the key to this is knowing when you are needed as a speaker, as a motivational speaker, or even to motivate someone, and when is it that people just need you to listen to them, and then you just listen and just ask, how can I best help you? Because sometimes you may want to solve their problem and all they want was to just let go.
Listen. Yeah.
And the best is to ask, how can I best help you in this conversation?
Yeah.
And they'll say, no, I just want to let go. I just want to lepas geram, as they say. You just listen. So you just listen. You don't try to motivate and say that you can do this. It's all about being positive. And they'll be like, I just want to strangle you.
That's actually a very powerful thing you just said. I read the book, I'm not sure, is it Why or When Mars and Venus Collide? It's from the same writer who wrote Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus, right? So it's the second book. It's a doctor something, I can't remember. Okay. So in that book, he talks about how women deal with stress. So apparently women deal with stress by having, their bodies produce oxytocin. And the way when they produce oxytocin is when they talk. So, but after reading the book, I realized I was making a mistake every time. Like when you're in a relationship or with a friend, right? And when the girl talks to you or you want to advise, you're like, no, you should do this, do that. Then the secret to this, just keep quiet.
So I've learned as well. I tell my friends, I just need you to listen. Or I tell them, I actually need advice.
I do that too.
So that makes it easy. And then you don't feel like, hey, I just wanted to let go. Why are you trying to solve my problem?
Yeah.
So I'm being smart right now, and I said I just need to let go because I have all this bottled up in me. I just need a listening partner. Or I'll say I'm stuck. Maybe some advice or perspective or what are your thoughts would help is to tell them upfront so that they are not left figuring out like what does this girl need right now.
Yeah. That's what I do in my marriage as well. I tell my wife, okay, I need you to just listen. Don't say anything. Or there are times when I say, no, I need your opinion. So I start with that. That's very powerful.
Because assumptions could make things even more depressing for people sometimes.
Exactly.
Because all they need was for someone to listen and for them to express their feeling of helplessness or that feeling of stuck. And here is someone saying, I know you got this, you got to be strong. It's adding on stress to them because now they feel even worse because they're not able to be strong. So we could be doing more harm than good when our intentions are actually good.
Yeah. So in your line of work, you're a coach, you're a trainer and all that. Say in your coach and your gratitude at advocacy, what sort of people do you meet who need to be told that to be more grateful in their life?
I think most often employers. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I often get this. I'm paying them a salary. Why must I say thank you?
Oh my God. Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I'm not saying say thank you all the time.
Yeah.
I'm saying gestures of appreciation does not get lost. It's highly appreciated. The small thing, guys, well done. This was good effort. Giving credit where it's due. Sometimes the simplest thing, just try writing a thank you note and giving someone and see what happens. It's post-it note. How much does it cost? But it's just these little things that could make difference in the office, in the community, everywhere. So a lot of my conversations are around how they feel that they're not appreciated, and sometimes even feedback. And I am not saying that all feedbacks actions must be taken, because I know that sometimes there are things that employers can't reveal too much because of it could be constitution, it could be because of law, it could be statutory obligations. There's a lot of things that they can't be explaining. But to say that I really hear what you say, but we do have limitations, rather than saying no, it won't work. Or saying it can't work right now, but we're going to carry this for maybe 2025 or 2026. And not just taking those ideas and just saying it's not going to work, or not even looking at them or even addressing them. So it's about communication, it's about relationship, and it's about building trust.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this new age workforce, I think gratitude is a big part of how you keep them motivated.
Yeah.
They want to be seen, they want to be heard. The money is a prerequisite. You can't get away from that.
Yes, correct.
But you need to tell them what they have done right and all that.
And if something is not working, or if an idea cannot be implemented, I know it's going to be extra time, but just doing that, it helps the morale of the place.
Yeah.
Why you can't, if you say that, oh, we need hologram in the office. I mean, most bosses may just say, are you crazy, hologram? No. But to say that it's either our budget doesn't allow this is a tech that we can't afford to have, but it's a good idea. Maybe draw up a plan how this can give us business, and we'll look into this next year or something. So there's at least a feeling of I've been heard, but I know, it may not work right now.
Yeah.
So it's just those conversations rather than shutting people down. And a lot of people say we are doing the groundwork. We know what works, what's not working. And to just actually listening, because you never know, that could actually solve some problems.
Interesting. I mean, I want to take some time off to discuss about your journal, because I find it so amazing. But before I get to that, just on this topic of employers and gratitude, is this because there is a generational gap nowadays, whereby you see a lot of employees? Even I have faced it. In my working career, I faced it early on, where you have bosses who only highlight the negatives but never ever mention the positives. If you do well, it's looked as part of your job. You're here to work, and so you have to do well.
You have
right?
a JD, just follow the JD.
Just follow JD, right?
Yeah.
But for employers nowadays, what is the impact of them for not changing their ways?
I don't have numbers and statistics to back you up on this, but if you look at morale, if someone is motivated, right, they feel appreciated. Imagine the productivity.
Definitely.
Imagine how they are actually optimizing their time. And I'm saying this because I felt that when I was appreciated, you wouldn't believe how much I worked harder. And then remember, I said I hated holidays because I loved being in the office, because you're just feeling so warm and fuzzy. That's one. But the moment you feel appreciated, you know your worth. You actually know your work is worth something. But that worthiness being recognized, it drives you to do more. And can you imagine how productive the team can be if they're acknowledged? If just saying that's working fantastic, keep doing this. And I like that, you guys are working together. I'm not sure how you guys are pulling this through, but one day I'll sit and listen to how this is being done. Amazing stuff. And be real. Because sometimes all fluff and not meaning it, people will actually know. I can say, hey, it's been awesome. You have been great. And then people
but
are
deep
like,
down,
right.
you've not really been that great. Yeah,
but so people actually can sense these things. So you got to be authentic when you actually do these things.
So that means there is a scenario where it could go the other way as well. You could be too grateful and it could come off looking insincere, and that would just lose your credibility in front of people. So just be authentic and be yourself.
And sometimes I know it's a bit off of gratitude, but when mistakes happen, things just shit hits the fan. We have all of this. But it's not about finding who to blame. But it's about how can we move past this? How can we make sure it doesn't happen? And if you know there was someone who was critical in making this mistake, pull them aside and say, hey, this has happened. what can we do to make sure this doesn't happen, rather than berating them and telling the whole world and pushing them under the bus and all of that. These are simple things. These are just building trust, communication, appreciating them. And I know you made a mistake. It's an expensive mistake. The company now has to bear it. But what's your commitment to make this better? Rather than literally shouting and embarrassing them in front of people.
That is not a way to get the best out of employees.
Yep.
So now, speaking of getting the best of your your day, your life, your career, is this book, this journal, Reflecting Gratitude, which I am very amazed by. So tell me the inspiration behind this. What made you start this? I mean, put together this journal.
Remember, I said earlier, people wouldn't be wanting me to tell them be grateful.
Yes.
But rather asking them the questions.
Okay. So there's no quotes here then. Thank God for that. Are there quotes?
Perhaps only one, which is mine at the back, at the back.
Which is also a question. There are many ways to show gratitude. What is yours?
Yes.
There we go. So that's a question. It's
and
fine.
I must give a shout out to my buddy PK, who inspired me to say that.
Yes, who actually connected the both of us as well.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
And I think it's more of, if you were to Google, you'll find everything about gratitude. There's pretty much so many YouTubes and all of that. But I learned my lesson during COVID. Asking questions help people feel gratitude, feel the thankfulness, rather than me telling them, please be grateful. So that's why I felt the questions could help. If someone is feeling stuck, just open any random page. Or if you want to do page 1, 2, 3, it's your wish. But any random page would just take you to a memory sometime in the past or something in your life. And if you're just focused on that one question and if you just answer them, I think within seconds, something in you would start changing. When you're feeling stuck, when you're feeling like, I'm just feeling helpless, I'm feeling lost. And journaling is powerful. I love gadgets. I can't go anywhere without my iPad or my laptop or even my phone. But there's just something soothing about writing things down on pen, on paper.
Yeah.
And the whole intention is to take people off the focus of that helplessness or, feeling depressed or whichever, and just find a moment of joy in that helplessness.
Okay.
So if you get engrossed in this, that for a while you got out of that feeling stuck, perhaps then you can start thinking otherwise, because or not you're so focused in where you're feeling stuck. So that was the whole intention of doing this.
And and it's a very beautiful cover and design. So let me ask you a question that about gratitude and all that. What about in your life that you are most grateful for? Tell me a moment in your life that you are most grateful for undergoing.
A moment?
A moment. One single moment.
Very difficult to answer because
you're grateful for everything, I know, but
it's very difficult to pinpoint on one specific one. But maybe it's a situation that I would rather be grateful for. I've had my highs and lows, terrible lows. And I think the one constant factor that I am always grateful for is that I've got a pretty awesome, great family. And in no matter what situation I am, because sometimes I feel like I'm also the black sheep who... because I've got doctors, engineers, and all of that within my cousins, my sister, and all of that. I'm the one who doesn't have a proper career according to Indian family standards.
Of course, yeah.
But that was not something that my family made me feel. My family has always been, just go and do. If you believe in something, you definitely can do it. So that has been a constant thankful element that I have in my life, because I think without their support, I could not have moved a lot to where I am right now. It's like despite, how many people start off doing sales job when they first graduate?
Yeah.
And so rather than a moment, I would rather say my family unit is my biggest blessings.
So in this journal, you've selected, I think you have about 160 pages here.
About that, yeah.
About that. How did you select the all these questions? Because there are many questions. So how did you put them together?
I just started thinking about what questions I could ask. So I just started to, of course, there were repetitions that I asked in different ways, which is why I had to cut down and finally bring to this. So it was just sitting down and just asking myself what other questions I could ask and looking at my own life. As I also take note of what I'm grateful for, turning them into questions, childhood memories, what I'm grateful about my country, my surrounding, my neighborhood, the home, the food, the friends. So I started doing that kind of stock take and then turning them into questions.
Nice. Well
So I
done.
may not have covered everyone's life per se, but yeah, it's just taking you back into memories and things that you may not have. Because I think there are questions like turn around and look at 10 things within your room that you're thankful for. So one thing that I'm always thankful for is my laptop because I can't function without it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Now, one thing that I've noticed with some people, who, especially people in my circle, I don't share this, but they are very great. I wouldn't say grateful, but they behave in a very grateful manner of their past. Sometimes to a point where it seems like they're living in their past even till today. Being grateful about your past is important. What you've gone through is definitely important. But is it can it become a limiting factor for you to move forward if you are always just looking behind? You're spending too much time, not always, but spending too much time looking at what you have done instead of looking at what you can achieve.
It could be yes and no. I mean, if they're very comfortable where they are, then I think they're perfectly fine where they are. But if they're not, then they're not looking at what they want. Because if you can't figure out what you want, you'll never get there. Because instead you're just looking at, oh, this happened, this happened, this happened. But it's about looking at what I want. How do I envision that to be? What do I do to get there? And taking the past as my learning. Because something that I blame myself for in the past is a powerful lesson that I take with me as I move forward. And say 10 years ago, I was blaming myself for something very badly. I may not blame myself right now. And because, of course, at that time, I can't see past those things. But right now, I could say that that's a powerful learning. Most times I deserve it. But it's about knowing that I won't make that same mistake again. You learn to be cautious even when it's with people, with contracts, with agreements, and you're just extra careful moving forward. And you can't say like, I made a mistake and I'm not going to make any more right now, so I'm not going to take any action. So if you're comfortable there, then so be it. But if you want to move on, you got to just say, I'm learning something from this and I want to move on.
Back to what you said earlier about how you made the fatal error of telling people to be grateful at times of, despair. I've been there. I've been there, especially as a young guy working and all that. Sometimes you find yourself caught up in a life that maybe you feel isn't really yours. It feels like you're wearing somebody else's clothes, and you're just trudging along because for the salary and all that. And I think there are a lot of people out there who go through this. I mean, how does one actually overcome that? How does one actually remain grateful or remain positive or remain hopeful when after a while the grind just gets you down?
I think one is maybe just do a reflection on where you are right now. What has been helpful? If there are things that hasn't been helpful, what do we learn from that? But I think it's also asking the powerful question about what do I want after this? Because if we have not figured that out, then we'll continue doing what we are doing today. Because it's a routine for all of us. We get up, it's hustling and then coming back, sleep, get up. It's routine for all of us. If that question is not answered, we will never be able to go towards something. So if someone wants to leave employment, but of course that security of having a salary is always there for everyone. We all have obligations, we all have responsibilities. But that doesn't mean that it's impossible. It's about knowing that I want to do something else. I have a different passion. Or I just don't want to work 9 to 5. I want to spend more time with family. And contrary to the belief, just because you go on your own, you don't get all the time to yourself. but that's another story.
No, definitely, you're right. I
But
agree
it's
with that.
really asking what's important to me and what do I want. And if I want that, just say I want to come out of 9 to 5. I want to build something, a business that is that's about my passion. Let's just say gardening. I'm just taking something random. But in order for you to leave a job with a financial security and to go into gardening, you can't do that overnight. But that doesn't mean it can't be done. It's about charting a plan to say, what is it that I need to start doing that I can get there? And now you probably have to work a little bit more harder because now you have to balance two things. You need to get this thing, something going on here with this whole gardening thing to be able to one day leave your job and just fully go on here. So is it, maybe you have you take 5% of your saving and just dump it into something, get someone to work on it, build on it while you're still working. And then when that settles up and it becomes stable, that's when you leave. I don't know, but there has to be a plan.
Okay.
Because if you always wanted to, but you can't, then that's choices that we all have that we can make. So it's about putting a plan down and saying that I want this, but I can't do this overnight.
Okay. You have to be patient, lah.
You got to be patient, but at the same time, you got to work on it.
Work on it. Yeah.
And then start small because one step is better than no steps.
Definitely. Amen.
Progress
to that. Yeah.
over perfection.
Definitely, always. That's the best thing. I think that in my time, I've also heard and spoken to people who want to become entrepreneurs. People who want to do and you hear this. Oh, I want to start this thing. I want to do that and all that. But the problem is that I think they don't want to leave the comfort zone of the salary and go into their own. In fact, just last night I was with someone who started an app and they were telling me, you know what, I have no idea why I left the comfort of my security for this. But what do you tell someone who wants to go for their dreams or wants to start their journey towards their dreams, as you say, and who is not doing so because of the safety of their work?
I would say, how badly do you want it? If you really badly want it, put out a plan. You have to put out a plan. It's not just going to, contrary to all the law of attraction and all of that buzzwords that you hear, you still have to put in effort. So put on a plan and work backwards and see that what am I not doing for me to get there? Because to get there, some things have to change along the way. And that means maybe putting 1 hour every day towards that. And then moving on. Can other people come in and help me put 1 hour in that thing? Because if you're not going to start and overnight you just say, okay, 2 months from now I'm going to quit and go on that. You haven't done planning. You haven't done your research. You haven't built a market. You haven't done branding. You haven't done a standing. Create credibility, create trust. And overnight, if you were to just leave something and go and do, especially if it's something that's way different. You could be an engineer and you want to suddenly go into food. You could be a doctor and suddenly you want to go into makeup. So those are different industries unless you have been in finance and then you come out as a trainer. You probably have built a name as a banker or something. That name still is with you even if you go into training. But I'm talking if your passion is something that's totally different from what you're doing as a career. And you need time to build that brand, to build trust. Because people come to you because there's trust and there is something that you are giving that they want to come to you. And you got to see whether your business is one that people buy, every month, once a year, 5 year once. Food is something that people probably could buy every other day. But then if you look at, if I am buying pickles, how often would I buy pickles? Maybe 2 or 3 months once. I won't buy pickles every day or every week. But if it's, I don't know, grinded garlic paste, probably every week. So you got to really do study of what you want to do. What's your sweet spot? What is their buying patterns? So there's a lot of work to be done while you're passionate about it. So you got to be very logical and look at things. Passion is one thing, but there's also the business part of it. So how does these two come together?
To meet together.
Yeah. Because I know a lot of people who have like deep passion in certain things. Cooking, makeup, all of these things. And while that's the passion, you still have to look at the numbers. You still have to do your planning, your budgeting, your costing, funneling. Where are my customers from? Am I reaching out to the right client? Am I going to people who can't afford to pay me, but you keep bugging them? So you really got to know, where is your market? Am I there? Or am I talking to people who are not my buyers? So all of this has to come, and they're not overnight.
It
These
takes
are
time.
not things, yeah. So that's why I would say, don't give up on your dreams. Work on your dreams, but be smart. You got to do all this study. You got to do all this planning, funneling, budgeting, and you can't be stingy in asking help. If you got to pay someone to say, come and teach me. I need to know how to do budgeting because I've never done budgeting in my life. Then you may just have to just pay and learn all these things.
Fair enough. I understand that. So basically, your thesis is that a plan is crucial. You have to have a plan. Understand. Now, in the terms of gratitude, one thing that I sort of questioned this when I was going through your profile as well is that sometimes when we in today's world, we tend to look at, we have this philosophy that the grass is greener somewhere else. It's always the case, right? How do we stop being like this? Because I have met people who I notice whenever they have this feeling that grass is greener there, you will notice a pattern where these people end up living their lives to a point where they don't really have much because they're always looking, across the gulf. How do they stop that?
I think when you have a sense of worthiness, when you know that, then nothing else actually would matter. Because you know where you are is what you want and where you are comfortable with. Because if you're hunting and searching and seeking for the next best thing and you forget to experience now, you're forever not going to get there. I'm just giving a random experience about someone who wanted to move overseas, migrate because Malaysia is not good enough. And I said, okay, I respect if that's how you feel. And then after a while, and I happened to bump into them in my hometown and say, so how have things been? And I was surprised because this is someone like, it's like I'm earning good money, no complaints about that, but I don't have mamak food. We don't have Indonesian meat. And I say, so, because I was surprised because this person really, really wanted to leave. And he says, yes, I made the money, but we don't have Indonesian meats and we don't have mamaks that we can go and eat anytime we want.
Okay.
And I said, it's like, yeah, maybe if once I've made enough money, I may come back to Malaysia. And I'm like, okay, I mean, I'm not going to stop you of doing that, but the realization then hit. I do make the money, but I'm not enjoying the money that I make.
Correct. I've seen that too, especially in people go to Australia. They tend to come back here after a while because I guess we're just better. I've been to Australia.
So sometimes, if you know of your worthiness, you know what you have right now. It may not be comparable, but that's enough for you right now. And then it's always, as someone who said this to me very long ago, I can't remember which one of my mentors said this. I think it was one of the times that we were going through this economic downturn. And they said this, if you think that that's your reality, then that's going to be your reality. But if you believe that you still can make it, you still can earn money during the economic downturn, then that's going to be your reality. So what is it that you believe in? And that hit me. Because if I choose to give excuse that, the economic is down, it's a kegawatan economy as we call it, so I can't make money, then I am making excuses for me not to be making money. But if I say that, yes, that's the state of the country right now, but that's not my state, I will still make money, then my perception, my angle, and the way I would be doing business would be different. Because now I am still all out to go and seal the deal, make the business, market myself, rather than saying, no one is going to take my services because it's economic downturn.
Understand. I just want to clarify that part, just to build on that. I think that approach is powerful because it changes your state of mind.
Yeah.
a lot of people who complain, or it's not wrong to complain. Sometimes things get really bad and you have to complain.
And that's also something I just want to be put on a note.
Disclaimer.
As much as I'm a gratitude advocate, I have my terribly down moments as well.
Yeah, everybody
We're just
does.
human.
Yeah.
It's just that it's maybe a little bit more easier to pick yourself up.
Yeah. And it's all about mindset at the end of the day, right? And I think what you're talking about, gratitude, it leads to a more positive mindset. When you have a more and I know that word positive has been raped. I mean, it's been used excessively. Yes. Everybody talks about positivity. It annoys me. But I think the better word will be you have a more open mind. You're open to opportunity, open to suggest.
If I can bring science into this,
please do.
I'm not, what we say, short sendiri, saying that, kesyukuran and gratitude and thankfulness is all great. But you see, the body actually produces serotonin and dopamine when you're happy, when you're joyful, when you're grateful. When you're in a fearful mode, when you're scared, when you're worried, that's when the cortisol builds up, which is what I call not the so good hormones for your body. So when you look at it from a science point of view, even if you don't want to believe me, because I could be biased about saying thank you, but when you look at science, you can't deny science and say science is wrong.
Yeah, definitely.
So from a scientific point of view, that way of being, that state of mind is actually very crucial and helpful, especially if we are doing business. If you believe you can and you're going to work for it, that definitely will change how your business is.
I understand. Definitely. Now, in summary of this, I always do this to my guests.
Okay.
So that's your camera right there, so you can. I would like you to share with the viewers on how they can live a more grateful life and how they can live a more appreciative and successful one in that.
I think start by doing two things. One is look around you, look at yourself. What is it that you have? You may not have the PhD yet. You may not have the BMW 5 Series or the Bentley. But then be thankful to the Honda or even the Proton that you have. Because that Proton is servicing you, that Honda or the Toyota is still servicing you. And second is start saying thank you. Even your friend will say, yeah, we are friends, you don't need to say thank you. The more you need to say thank you so that people don't feel that they've been taken for granted. And tell you what, in all that, no need, somewhere deep down they'll feel excited and they'll go all like, someone say thank you to me. Try just doing that. Slip thank you notes, take post-it notes and randomly put on your colleague's desk. Just don't say thank you because it's an SOP. Don't tell your kids when they get something, what must you say to auntie? And then they will say, thank you, auntie, thank you, uncle. But rather, tell the kids why must they say thank you. It's not an SOP. It's really telling them because auntie or uncle have bought you this, now you have this toy. And that's why you are saying thank you. So that's one thing I always tell parents. Don't make it a routine. Don't make it an SOP. But rather tell them why they are saying thank you. And a lot of religions actually teaches us about saying thank you, especially before we eat. When we pray, again, don't make saying thank you a routine, but rather emotionally feel that and not just do it because the religion says we have to do it. I get a lot of backfiring for going into religion, but
no
really,
worries, go on, yeah.
But really, when you are thankful for the food, be really thankful. Don't just say the word, but mean the word. So that's the two thing I would say. Look around you, look at yourself, and make another person feel appreciated. You never know that one thank you to that person makes their day in that whole day of feeling down. That's the one thing that made them smile.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. So thank you for that. And so, Bavani, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you to maybe to work with you on your coaching and all that, how can they do so?
You can just go to my website, bavaniperesamy.com, BAVANIPERIASAMY.com. My contact, everything is all there. And
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So
Or
we'll be
not,
sharing.
you can find me on LinkedIn. That's where I'm most active.
Most active on LinkedIn. Awesome. So we will share the links to your LinkedIn and your website on the captions of these videos. And you guys, please check out the Reflecting Gratitude Journal as well. You can get it by contacting her directly.
Yes.
We hope that you start selling on Shopee and all that, and make
Soon.
soon. Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, I think this would do well on Amazon as well. That's the markets you should.
Yeah,
be entering.
I would be looking at that soon, putting that on.
It's a very
Amazon.
nice, well done book.
Thank you.
I've seen a lot of there are people who have written books who have come on this podcast, and I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this, but the paperback cover, and I'm like, this is like okay, but this is really solid. It's like,
Thank you.
Yeah, I love it. I need the contact of the guys who printed this. I would like to print
definitely.
Yeah. So that's all for today on gratitude, and Miss Bavani for coming on. Thank you so much again.
Thank you for having me here and hearing me out.
Yeah, thank you. It was really great, and thanks to big shout out to PK Speaks for connecting us. We met at his event actually. Yes, at his event. So thank you for so much for everything. And see, I'm learning. I've said like 10 thank yous in this. Thank you for watching. Yeah, there you go.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. As always, please share your comments. If you guys want to get in touch with Bavani, just drop a comment. We can connect you. We'll be sharing all the links on our captions and our descriptions of the videos. So you can definitely get in touch with her and learn how to say thank you and be more gracious, you ingrateful people. Ungrateful people, sorry. But till next time, please like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for more episodes. Thank you, guys. Take care. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you so much for
How was it? You
promoting
like
the
it?
book.
Yeah?
Yes. I mean, I brought that for you, but thank you so much.
No worries. I like it. It's such a well-made book. Because I think how many people have had, I think 3, I think. They all look like very, after a while it bends.
Yeah,
This
I
is
mean,
solid,
because
man.
it's journal, people should have that for a long time.
You should do like a planner journal.
In the process, I just haven't got that done. I got COVID in December. So my entire planning for New Year all just went down the drain.
Okay.
So I do have plans to have it without dates so that you can use it throughout the year anytime.
Okay. Cool. Nice. That'll be very nice.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's get a photo. Come. Benny.